What's up, baby?
What's up, brother? What's going on? What's going on?
Bro, been a minute, bro. I know we've been busy.
Oh, yeah, bro. It's been a busy few weeks. Training and fucking, just fucking life and working shit. It's good to be back. Good to be back on it.
Yeah, I'm finally done with training, bro. So I'll be,
Learn how to do something.
bro, most highly trained motherfucker on the planet, bro. I've been through what 5 academies, bro. It's ridiculous.
Bro, learn
I was
something.
laughing because I'm already a firearms instructor, having to go through basic training again. I was like, I was just here. So I don't think we talked about it on the show, but
I don't know.
it wasn't on our list.
Uh-huh.
Can you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
But so I'm, I was all hyped up, distinguished expert, firearms instructor, feeling myself, get to basic training, and we do tactical shooting. And the dude was like a Green Beret, all kinds of dope ass shit. Barrington's his last name. He's got a couple books out if anybody wants to buy it. But the dude basically unknowingly, because he didn't know who I was, but he goes, yeah, we like to give out, awards and all that shit for shooting paper targets. He's like, I'll give you a gold star if you want, because none of that shit fucking matters in combat. And I was just like, oh, my pride. But he was 100% right.
That's true.
And the drills we did, I mean, we probably shot, 500 rounds each. And what he was talking about is squeezing the shit out of the un. He goes, you can slap the fucking trigger all you want, because that's what you're going to do when bullets are coming your way, as long as your base and your grip and all that. So again, I always try to leave my ego at the door, but he literally called out something that I was like, oh, bro, look, I did all this good shit. He's like, yeah, that's bullshit. Don't matter. I'm like, Did that help you when I was talking about squeeze the shit?
It's an adjustment, bro. It's an adjustment.
So the red dot is different. So people always talk about that because it's hard. Once you learn how to see, because you're used to pulling out the gun and getting the sight alignment, but with the red dot, you basically just go right to where you're supposed to do, and you see the sight. It's an adjustment, but once you get it, it's like
an adjustment. And like I said, it's mostly. I mean, obviously we know this, but it's a perishable skill. So, like I said, I say we as a team, our tactical team, but it's one of my personal goals to every month, at least once, to do more requirement for training wise, right? So so most of the time, it's obviously I think it's shooting is it's the easiest thing to get in extra, whether it's hand stuff or obviously like box check skills, but shooting is the one that I've kind of like honed in on, and so I'm like let me tell. But we were having obviously the discussion before offline about the combat shooting and being as so I've been in some combat stuff or whatever you want to call it. It's like,
can we talk about that yet or not yet?
Yeah, I feel like that's a street tales one. We talk
all right, fair. Yeah. Well, let me know when we can, because I would like to talk about that.
Yeah, we definitely talk about it.
Sorry, moving on.
It's clear that we can talk about that. But thinking back on that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's right. It's like I want to get it down to a point where I'm not consciously thinking about it, doing it because before it's like shooting through sights is different than the red dot. You know what I mean? Obviously, you have years and years of shooting through, through sights. Highly confident on shooting through sights, but it's like the red dot is an adjustment because it's both eyes. So like I'm over here like initially. So I'm like, I need to hone in on this and make sure this thing is locked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So again, I don't have any optics on my handguns. I do want to get one now that I've practiced with one through the combat shooting. Once again, hold on, let me see. His last name is Barrington. I'll look it up real quick because if I'm going to talk about the guy.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second, because he was talking about stuff in ways that I'd never thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he called our magazines. He goes, yeah, you got a 2-second magazine, because he goes, Kyle Barrington, that's his name. And he's got a couple books out. You Google Kyle Barrington on Amazon. He's got a couple books out. But he was like, you have a 2-second magazine, meaning that's how fast you should be able to empty that magazine accurately. And he was talking about, he was shooting when he was in the Special Forces. He was doing like 2,000 rifle rounds and 1,000 pistol rounds per week, every week per policy. I was like, God damn.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And he goes, but they didn't have like those kind of optics on pistols and shit. And he goes, he's 60-something years old now. And he's like, I shoot better now than I did when I was full operational. I was like, damn. And he goes, every agency should have optics. He goes, but you got to learn how to train with them. He goes, it's very different than shooting with, iron sights.
Mm-hmm.
But just the way he was talking about magazine stuff, magazine changes, the timing, how fast you should be getting off rounds. Again, I have been personally shooting since I was 6 years old. Both my parents were Marines, but that type of combat shooting, it's not something I've really sporadically trained on, but it never explained to me that way.
Yeah. It,
He was right though. Like the way he was talking, I was like, he's fucking right.
yeah. And it's like so we've all been through fucking academies and training and in services and all that kind of shit. I was like stress shooting is different than just your
Yeah.
it is completely different. And it's reminds me of TPD's range has a quote on it. I think it's a great quote. I forget who it's by, but it's a great quote. It says, "You don't rise to the level of the occasion; you sink to the level of your training."
Facts.
That's facts. I was like, so how you train is how you're gonna be. It's how you're gonna do it. So I'm like, yeah, I need my stuff to be locked up, be tightened up for sure.
Yeah, it's again, like I said, I'm 41, still learning. Been doing this for a minute.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Oh my God, bro. Nothing has made me feel older than that experience because I'm like, why the fuck is everybody saying happy birthday? What the fuck? I realized when I set up my Facebook, bro, I feel old just talking about this shit, bro. I'm like, bro, I'm embarrassed that I didn't realize I just set it up for the day and then I was like, I wasn't understanding what I was doing and I just said that was the day. I had like 80 people say happy birthday and I had to like put a post out saying, guys, I'm sorry. And some people were mad. They're like, well, I feel dumb. And I'm like, no, it's my fault. I'm sorry. And they're like, well, fuck you. And then some people are like, you were old as shit. And I'm like, I swear, again, that's what happens to you, bro. Bro, and I think I was like 50. Like, I don't even know what the fuck I was doing, bro. I'm like, oh my God, bro. Dumb. Just dumb.
That's just hilarious.
So anyway, it wasn't my birthday. Bro, I hate you, bro. You were like, stop lying. I was like, you motherfucker. Bro, you saw those fucking comments, bro?
Oh, that was a great laugh. I had myself a great laugh.
Fuck it. It felt old as shit, bro. What about you, bro? What do you got going on?
Yeah, my newest thing, like I said, we were talking about new endeavors earlier. My newest thing is going to be, I think we talked about it before, it's going to be underwater EOD diver. My next large-scale endeavor that I'm going after. So it's going to be wildly out of my comfort zone, starting from ground zero. You know what I mean?
Why is that, bro?
Because I don't know how to scuba dive. I gotta learn that first. I do know how to swim. I have the what they call.
Bro, I didn't say nothing, bro. I didn't say nothing.
I know you did it, but I know there's people who watch. I know people who watch who want to ask the question. I do know how to swim. I have the FBI certification for the landside operations. I enjoy the landside stuff. I actually want to learn something new. So let's do the whole underwater thing and just make this thing full scale. So that's why the thing I said is ground zero, starting from zero. So it should be interesting.
Bro, you just reminded me. I won't name his name because he doesn't want to be on the podcast yet. But our boy, do you remember when we did our swim training and he was showing us how he would, because he's a special forces dude. He's got all this stuff, but he would come out of the water, eyes open, and how they no bubbles going down, no bubbles coming out, how he control it. But we did that for like an hour, just fucking around. Had nothing to do with training. You remember that shit, bro?
Well, that shit's actually, I was like, so like in the movies? Like, yeah.
Yeah, just coming ready to go, bro.
And slow. I'm like, okay, impressive.
Best believe though, the day he's done with military,
definitely.
Playboy, I need you on. What's up, baby?
I'd love to have him on. This is great doing it. I think it would be great because I think obviously we know him offline outside of his professional career. Knowing him personally would not. I think people would be very surprised at his his offline personality as opposed to like his professional.
Oh yeah,
it's like that's what you do for a living. You do that.
It's hard because I want to say his name, but I ran into him because we were different districts, whatever. I was in the jail because I was processing somebody. He came in, and I was sitting. You know how it is, bro. I was like behind the desk. He's like, "What's up, man? What are you doing?" I was like, "Bro, I'm waiting on somebody to get processed, whatever." I was like, "What do you got?" He's like, because again, he became a deputy. And then he got sent away for like a year to go do special stuff. And then he came back. He's been a cop for as long as you and I have, but he's really only been a cop for like 3 years. Because like he was a cop, but then he was really the team leader of the SWAT, and then he was a pilot, all this shit. Anyway.
Gone. He's like, God damn.
Yeah. So he arrested somebody, and it was like misdemeanor assault. And I'm like, let me see what you got, bro. I was like, bro, this is a felony. He assaulted you. He's like, barely. I'm like, no, bro. Like, listen, don't base it off your training. Think of the most non-special ops person in your district and what would happen if that happened to them. He was like, oh. I was like, yeah, bro. He's like, yeah, but this ain't shit. I'm like, no, man.
I know it's
Not everyone's fucking special ops, dude. Like, they can't just deal with shit the way you did. He was just like, whatever. The dude tried to get me, but he didn't. So, whatever. I'm like, no, bro, no.
Put the right charge, man.
God damn, bro. Help your brother out because not everybody's trained like you. Bro, I love it.
He's a good dude, bro. He's a great dude.
Love him. All right, bro. All right. Let's get into this thing. 100 men versus a gorilla. You first. You first. I already have my opinions, but go ahead.
First and foremost, I think this is a government psyop because why are we talking about this? Why is this shit even a popular question? But here we are. 100 men versus a gorilla. No weapons, no nothing, just bare fisticuffs.
It ain't no bare fisticuffs. They have 6-inch fucking.
No. What I'm saying is like you don't. There's no knives. There's no whatever. Just bare hand. 100 dudes. I gotta take the gorilla. Just off the sense of I think once he gets the first two, nobody's gonna want to be next. And I think that's gonna be the deciding factor. There's like a 100 committed dudes to it. Still, I don't know. I don't know. I'm taking the gorilla, bro.
Yes.
I'm taking the gorilla, bro.
First of all, a gorilla, again, let's just go apex predator. 500-pound, 5'7" athlete. Well, hold on, bro. Athlete. 500-pound man.
Yeah.
That can just hold his body weight from a branch like this while doing for hours, just chilling.
And
super agile. And does this for this is what he does, this is his life. Yep. He fights other 500-pound fucking animals, bro. Plus the hands, bro. Like, we've already done you and I's hand. Yeah. Your hand would be a baby hand in a gorilla's hand, bro. Your hand.
Yeah, I'm taking the gorilla.
All fucking day.
All day long.
No weapons. It's a wrap, baby.
Like, no, yeah. I was like, that's the stipulation. I was like, no weapons?
And we haven't even gotten into the fun. Hold on. Look, let's see.
Enough bite force to break your arm? Come on, out of here.
Let's see here. Because I think it's like 3 to... Oh, okay. Well, this says 2 inches long, but I don't know, bro. I've seen those fucking canines. Fuck, you know what? 2 inches, though.
That's a huge tooth.
Yeah. Let's see.
Enough bite force to break your arm in that? Stop.
So a gorilla has the bite force to crush your skull. Number one. Yeah, dude. Nah, bro. I don't even understand what this is, bro. This is dumb.
Then when they rip your arm off, come on, bro. Stop.
That's the other part. He can grab you and go blop. Minimal effort.
I'm like, what are we talking about?
Anyway, all right, bro. Let's move on for that. We're in agreement on this one because that's dumb.
I'm taking the gorilla. I'm taking it. Get out of it.
What about like a chimpanzee?
Chimpanzee versus 100 dudes? Nah. 100 dudes are over.
Well, also, let's think about this. Well, hold on. Let me back up to the gorilla. 100 American dudes or like Kenyan dudes that can run full sprint for hours and hunt.
I do one better. 100 Samoan dudes.
See now we're starting. I think we're leveling the playing field, bro. You know what? The Samoans is probably better because they got that strength and that girth. Kenyans are more like long distance.
Yeah, they got the Samoans with the size of strength, bro. Just naturally. I think they put up a better fight than just 100 regular Americans.
All right, let's say this: 100 American dudes versus a gorilla all day. 100 Samoan dudes, like for real Samoans. I think it levels the playing field, but I don't know. The thing is, still undecided for me. I'd have to see it happen.
I think you still gotta give the edge to the gorilla a little bit.
Bro, Samoans are like 6 foot, 6'4", 300, like across the board, bro.
Yeah, but they ain't got that agility like gorillas.
If there's 100 of them.
Yeah, but he sort of can. Dipping and dodging.
That's a full football team full of offensive linemen.
Yeah, but you also got a bigger offensive lineman that's moving like
just one though.
It's moving like a cornerback.
Well, that's the other thing. Are we talking about in a field or like in a warehouse?
I think that if they can outlast him, that's how you get him. You got to outlast.
Yeah, if he wears out.
If he wears out, that's going to be on the.
Yeah.
That's on the. There's got to be a little bit of strategy to it. You got to like I said.
He might get 80 dudes.
The first 3 or 4 that he gets.
Oh, that's a wrap.
The psyche of the rest of them is gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild.
Watching them just get torn to pieces, yeah.
It's gonna be wild. And then people are like, no. I said, let me paint a picture for you, right? I said, how can one person, one dude, rob a bank of 100 people, and he's got one magazine of 17 rounds. Can't shoot everybody. I was
Who
like,
wants to get first?
but nobody wants to be one of them 17 that gets shot though. So I'm like,
Yeah.
same kind of psyche.
Fair enough.
Nobody wants to be one of the ones that he gets. I think that's where it levels out.
Yeah.
So I say just based off of that, that's where you got to go with the edge of the gorilla, just off the psyche by itself. But 100 committed dudes, shit. Even if the gorilla was just laying there, I'm like, bro, it's gonna take a lot. Still gonna take a lot.
Yeah, no weapons, no tools.
I'm like, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot. I don't think the durability of gorillas is, like I said, they're fighting other gorillas as part of like their life.
Yeah, you're right. That's what they do. Once again, bro, try a one-arm hang. Just do it for see if you can do a minute. 1 minute. No. I did it the other day for like 20 seconds, and I thought I hurt something. I thought I tore something.
Well, you know they're tiny.
Yeah, they ain't weighing 500 pounds.
Yeah, they don't weigh 500 pounds. Shit.
Actually, speaking on that, have you been doing that? Doing the hangs?
Yes, bro.
Because after our conversation, I've started doing the same. I've started doing the same thing. I'm trying to get shoulder flexibility. I'm not flexible, bro. I've lost all that.
In the end, and while we're talking about that, another thing I was talking about with the cop, right, with the hangs, and I noticed this after he said it. He's like, I'm a side sleeper, and he's like, you're very broad in the shoulders. He's like, so since that's the widest part of your body, that's getting the most stress when you're laying on your side like that, sleeping at night. He's like, I know it's difficult. He's like, but you're gonna have to like start trying to sleep on your back to alleviate the stress on your back.
Well, they got those pillows that kind of prop you up. I haven't been able to do it yet.
I don't know, but I just for some reason, I don't know if it's like a same mentality of like a dog. You know how dogs sleep when they curl up. You know what I mean? To protect the vital organs. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like that's how I sleep. I don't know if I'd be able to get good rest just like laying back on my back like that, just all open. I had to sleep like this with two pillows, bro, like a vampire. Just so I gotta sleep in body armor, bro, just to relax a little bit at night.
Fuck, bro. I feel you on that. Also, my bad, bro. You talked about your endeavor with the underwater. My endeavor is I'm trying to get a book published. Do I say me or we? Because me, you, and Mo, Street Tale, the royal we, me.
We're working on a book.
We are working on a book. I'm at 110,000 words. Talking to a publisher at the end of the month. I'm very excited about it. I'm motivated. I think the concept is good. Now, whether or not how it all fits together, but it's attempting to answer the question, what is law enforcement and what makes a good law enforcement officer?
So we know it.
How do you answer that question, bro?
So that's a very subjective question. I think that's what's going to be the most compelling part of it, is because everybody's going to have different answers.
Well, that's why I'm trying to tell it through a series of short stories with the people, the guests and stuff that we have on the other podcast, Street Tales.
So it's going to be, I think it's interesting. I don't know of anything that's out or has been published that's in the realm of what it's going to be. So I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I'm glad to be a part of it. But I think it's going to be good for that reason. It's asking the question that a lot of people are going to have different answers to.
Again, the overall scope of the purpose of the podcast and the book and all that is to humanize law enforcement professionals, to do my best to explain what it is cops, deputies, troopers, agents are forced to deal with and, overcome. Because Mo and I were talking about the other day, a lot people don't see it, but a lot of cops are very cerebral. They think through things. They try to think, laws, constitution, what if, what is this, what is that? But at the end of the day, when it's time to put the handcuffs on, cerebral goes out the window. Now it's time to this is what's happening. It could get real grimy. It could get real violent real quick.
It takes a different kind. I think it takes a different kind of person to encompass all of those things and be, I don't want to say necessarily be the best in all those things, but be high functioning in all those areas.
It's hard to be high functioning in all of those areas.
So be high functioning in all those areas and for that level of compensation as well. And I think that's the challenge. That's the challenge. Obviously that's one thing we'll get to in the book.
Well, what I always hated was all cops, you were bullied in high school, now you got power. I wasn't bullied in high school.
But it's interesting though, because I get why people say that, because we've obviously seen those.
We know who them are.
You know who they are, right? And it's like once you see it, you're like, interesting. It's like you should probably talk to somebody about that as to why you're doing what you're doing. I was like, I don't think not that I have a heaven or hell to put anybody in, so I can't really judge anybody. Me personally, I was like, I don't know if I don't know if your reasonings behind doing this are righteous.
Bro, do you remember we were at the world of beer, and that waitress was like, "Oh, do you guys play?" She thought we were in the NFL, and we were like, "No." She's like, "Oh, then you must be cops." We're like, "Why you say that?" She's like, "I used to date one," and we're like, "Word?" And then she was like, "Yeah, he was ridiculous, and he like broke up with me because I had a nickel bag of weed." And we both went, "Was it this guy?" And she's like, "How you know?" I was like, "Because that guy's a fucking tool bag."
It's like that tracks. That tracks for him.
That tracks with what he does.
That tracks. That tracks. 100% that tracks. So yeah, I
World
do.
class athlete, bro. World class athlete.
Jesus.
Chasing 14-year-old kids that stole a bike. My God, bro.
I know, and I'm just, so bro, the same eye roll that I had fucking all the years ago. Just okay, buddy, you're so
So
great.
frustrating.
You know, you're so great, bro.
You're the best. Ugh. Bro, tell me, is he a supervisor, bro? Please tell me no.
I think so.
See, that's
Yeah,
what I hate, bro. That's the shit I hate.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
All right, is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, bro. What books you reading?
So I'm on my newest book is called. I'll pull it up. It is called The Three Words. So it's called The Three Words, and essentially where I'm at in the book is talking about the power of the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind, right?
Yeah.
And kind of dives into the power, like how your subconscious mind never forgets anything and kind of holds everything in. Like, but it likened it to your conscious mind being like the engine, like the starter, like it's directing where your thoughts are going, where your energy's going, whatever. It's like, but your subconscious mind always it never forgets anything, and it's kind of like the reason as to why. It's like if you can reprogram that, you can reprogram like your perception and your world and like how the how you view things. And I thought it was wildly interesting because I'm like I already have those kinds of thoughts anyway. I'm like, you should be able to like obviously not, not warp your fucking reality like a comic book, through thought, right? It's like, but I don't remember where I heard this from, but it stuck out to me. It's like everything that you see in the physical, right? He's like, was a thought in somebody's mind first. He's like, so that's how powerful your thoughts are. It's like you can't. And again, it's one of those things. As I'm like saying, not to say older, as we progress through life, I've noticed a lot of these cliches, like these tropes and all those kinds of things. I was like, they stick out more to me now that I've got some life experience. It's like it sounds mad cheesy. It's like, but in order to be it, you have to see it first. And I'm like, that sounds fucking stupid, right? It's like, or like, cause when I was younger and learning to play sports, my uncle used to always tell me this, and I always did this whenever I was doing anything. Even I still even do it now. He's like, you have to visualize yourself doing it before you get out there and do it. He's like, you have to see. It's like visualize yourself making plays. Visualize yourself doing this. Visualize yourself doing this. And even before I do it now, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to try to hit this 450. I literally sit down there and I like look at it, look at what it's going to look like, think about what it's going to feel like, and do it. And then once you do it, whatever. And I was actually watching it. It's just probably a TikTok thing, but the guy he made a point, and I thought it was. He's like a lot of things that people are chasing are not actually the thing that they're chasing, right? He's like, for example, you want the brand new Lamborghini, right? Because you think it's going to make you feel a certain way. He's like, you don't actually need the Lamborghini in order to feel the sensation of the thing that you're chasing. He's like once you feel it and like kind of get that thing for yourself, he's like, you're probably not going to need that anymore. And I was like, huh, okay. I see where you're going with this. I get it. And it was strange. It likened me back to a thing they were playing in. Was This was in high school. And I was still playing baseball. And I hit a home run. And someone tried around. They're like, bro, you never seem to get like overly excited or whatever. And I was like, because that's what I plan to do. I was like, I didn't. It wasn't like it. And I know we talk about put it this way. I always get not pissy, but I'm always like kind of like side on people who get like overly excited about graduations. But
That's
like
what you're supposed to do.
exactly right. And hold on a second. I was like, you're cheering and screaming and yelling. So I was like, this is not a surprise. I was like, first of all, you've been sending your kid to school for 12 years. Did you think they weren't going to make it? I was like, and you got an invitation to come here today. We all know what this is for. It's like so like a lot of times my reaction to things that like accomplishments are not always. I was like, I'm not reacting like I just won the fucking lottery. It's like if I won the lottery, that would be a surprise. Then I'll be like, oh shit, I just fucking whatever, because I was unexpected. I was like, when I'm expecting to be successful at something, or am I expecting to do something, that I expected it. So my reaction is not like it's like I already knew this was coming. I already have the sensation of like of it. I was like, I've already felt the win. I just know it. It's like I already knew I was going to win. I already knew I was going to achieve it. I was waiting for everything else to catch up. I was already here. If that
Yeah,
makes
I'm
sense.
on to the next thing.
I'm already on to the next thing. I was like, I was already expecting this in my head. So I'm just waiting for the universe to catch up to me. I've already got it. Like I've been here. I seen this 6 months ago. Y'all are catching up. Predators, listen, I wasn't wrong. I was just early. Now y'all catching up. So
Yeah.
it's, it's where I'm at in the book is really that. It's the power of, like I said, subconscious versus your conscious thoughts and your conscious mind. I think is very interesting because I think a lot of what plagues us, and this probably kind of leads into, one of the things we're talking about. I think it plagues a lot of us in the world is we're so focused on the external and not the internal that everybody's external shit is kind of just like bouncing you around, life. And I'm like, if you listen, a lot of things of what people are seeking honestly comes from internal shit, not external shit. But I think for me, that's what I've been focused on. As long as I take care of what's in here, focus on myself. That's Mac cliche. Focus on yourself and like tighten my own shit up. Find like a lot of the things that you're looking for externally, you realize it doesn't come from that. It's along those lines.
It's a shameless plug for Doug White, who I did an episode with on Street Tales, but it is the last book I read. It's called Hiding in Plain Sight. And we knew Doug White as a corporal.
Yep.
Corporal Doug White, who told us the most horrifying thing you could ever imagine.
I don't even want to give people the idea. Yeah.
Nope, I'm not even. Yep. I told him before, I said, I'm going to tell you this because I don't want to record it because I don't want to even put in an idea. Needless to say, it changed the way I raised my children. That's how devastating it was on how to commit a terrorist act in the United States. Yeah, and I was like, Jesus, hopefully nobody ever hears what you just said.
Yeah.
But it's his book and it's incredibly personal for him. And I think he did a great job on he did a great job on capturing moments in time that a lot of cops either have been through or dread going through. And, he rose to the rank of lieutenant, and for everybody on the outside looking in, he was crushing it. He was, and I told him when I knew him, I knew him in training. I met him 3 times outside of training, and I always learned something from him. He was a little rough, little gruff. He had a reputation in the agency as kind of being an asshole, but like I didn't get that from him. Mm-hmm. I always learned something from him, so I always held him a little bit on a pedestal, maybe not Shiro level, but to a level. Yeah. And to hear that he was struggling to the point that he was on the brink of committing suicide in his patrol car.
It's wild, bro.
And then he rose to the rank of lieutenant, and then all got bumped. Like the most, I think maybe in the Hillsborough history, he got bumped from lieutenant all the way back down to deputy, and because of his depression and what he was dealing with. Mm-hmm. And his marriage was suffering, his kids. He put all this in a book, dude. I was like, God damn, bro, I don't know if I got balls for that shit. But just his openness to talk about it, I thought it was excellent. My new book that just got delivered today, called Living Blue, is along the same lines, helping law enforcement officers and their families survive and thrive from recruitment to retirement. And again, I don't typically read a lot of cop books. I'm actually more of I like to read fantasy if I ever read, just because I've dealt with enough reality that I don't necessarily want to read about reality. Fair enough, but that's my next book, but it just got delivered today, so that's what I will be reading. Again, a lot of this is in preparation for writing our book, the Royal We book. I don't know how to phrase that because I think it's a unique concept. But just like I was talking to Mo, I thought our intelligence-led policing, where we were targeting high-profile recidivists people, was like a new concept. And her husband Frank was like, "Yeah, we were doing that 20 years ago." I was like, "Damn, we just didn't call it. We didn't call it that." I was like, "Well, son of a bitch."
Just a rebrand, son. Just a rebrand. That's all.
So, but again, I've scoured the internets and Amazon. Yeah. There's nothing like what I'm attempting to. Or we, I keep saying I, but we, because it's that's the thing. That's the thing. And I asked you about it. Mm-hmm. I think we talked about it. It's like, and I'm talking to anybody, all the stories that are in the book, I'm talking to everybody who's been on, who's provided their story. It's like, I'm not attempting, I don't want to profit off their stories in a sense that it's like, look, I want to make all the money. It's more to get the stories out, and then any money that will be generated from the book, if there is any, because listen, we ain't made a fucking dime from the podcast yet.
but it's fun.
We'll go back into the podcast. You know what I mean? So to help push it out. Again, my whole goal is to push this shit out so people can hear it and be like, one, you're not alone. Two, if you're not in law enforcement, you're like, oh, I didn't know y'all dealt with that kind of shit. It's like, yeah, man, it's wild, bro. Like the more I do it, and the more I think about it, and the more I get into it, and the more stories I hear, and the people I have on, I'm like, it's such a for me, it's like we know this shit, but people I've had people that are not law enforcement that are like, bro, I had no idea y'all did that shit. And we haven't begin to even we haven't even really gotten into the nasty shit, bro.
You didn't scratch the surface, but
yeah. I don't know. I don't know because we haven't gotten into child-based crimes, elderly-based crimes. Those are pretty brutal. People don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah, those, like I said, those are the ones that get me the most. Because I said those are true victims. Not to say that anyone deserves to be a victim or victimized. It's not what I'm saying. I was like, but victims, true victims, in the sense of they have no way of protecting themselves in most cases, right? So it's like
I think that's why it hits me different when it's a child or when I say elderly, I'm talking like 90s.
Yeah.
And frail and fragile. Not that all 90-year-olds are frail, but the ones that are typically victimized are. And it's like, bro, this is like a monstrous crime where, two 30, 40-year-old men duke it out and somebody gets hurt. Okay, I don't know, bro. Like that's shit that happens. But like you victimize somebody who's totally, I'm not comparing it to child or to animals are animals, humans are humans, but it's like an animal can't do shit. And for you to abuse the shit, like it's
those kinds of things are the ones where I'm like, I have no desire to go to special victims because I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I know myself, and I know it's gonna be cases where I feel so strongly about it. That motherfucker going to jail to me is not enough. That is the feeling that I had. So I feel that sometimes like that's not enough.
So when I took the training, because I did do that aspect for a few years, they talk to you about that. They're like, you want to punch that dude in the face or beat him bloody. But by doing that, you have robbed the victim of justice because now that case is going to get thrown out because of your action and you weren't even the victim of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a rough spot to be in, bro.
I get it. And I'm like,
we're going to do one or two at some point. I can't do it now because I don't think I'm mature enough to do it in a way that will represent what it is. It'll be too emotional.
It's hard not to interject your own. It's hard not to interject your own feelings on the situation. Like I said,
there's a whole community out there that thinks there's nothing wrong with it.
That's a topic for a different day.
Let's move on because I'm already getting upset and I'm not even trying to talk about it. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of shit that people in law enforcement deal with that it bothers me because I hate corrupt cops. I hate cops that abuse their authority. Full stop. Like I've never met another cop that was like on the side of the shithead cop that did something fucked up. I've never met anybody that I know personally that was like, yeah, I get it. It's like, no, fuck that motherfucker because it discredits the whole profession. Anyway, move on. I'm going to start getting into it and I don't want to. State of society, bro.
Are we better or are we worse off than I guess our known history, our recorded, semi-recorded, whatever how you feel about that history?
My answer is yes, 100%, but I'll back that up after you give your side.
Better? I don't know. I think we probably still suffer as a society. But a lot of things, are we more advanced? I say we're more advanced, right? Technology-wise, and we're in places where we can do more things. And that's why I'm hesitant to say yes, it's the better. It's like because we do have advancements, and yet we still have some of the same problems, right?
Like what?
I don't think there should be homelessness. It plagues my brain that we have homelessness, and even in a place like America that is a land of excess, right?
What do you mean by that? One, are you willing to accept the fact that there are a subsect of people who want to be homeless?
I was just about to say, aside from the people that want to.
So what specifically are you talking about?
And again, everybody makes choices. So some of these people are in the position that they are in because of the choices that they've made, right? But when there's, I guess, without context, you see, so obviously this is without context. We're chopping it up in little pieces. When you traveled, I mean, we're obviously both well traveled, right? When you see how much actual space is out there, just in the country or in the state, right? When you see the amount of space, and then you see the amount of people who are like living in tight little areas, you're like, there's really not a reason for why we should be seeing people living on the street that don't want to be living on the street per se, right? That don't want to be living on the street, because some people, that's what they want to do. And I always think that that's another thing that's interesting to me, very interesting to me, but
Who have you met that's homeless that doesn't want to be?
that doesn't want to be homeless. We've run into plenty of homeless people that don't want to be homeless, but well, I know that I don't know their names per se, but I'm coming.
I'm not saying naming them, but what type of situation are they in that where they don't want to be homeless and they're striving? Hold on, and they're striving not to be homeless.
But that's why I say without context, some people have made choices that have led them to be in the situations that they're in. Right. So a lot of some of the homelessness are not because obviously it's drug addiction, it's this, it's all a whole plethora of reasons. Right? But like I said, on the surface, you're like, these two things don't seem like they should be happening. I mean, we still see all kinds of just even on a small scale of like of doing my job, like the amount of actual evil that exists in the world. Like how could one person do this to another person? You know what I mean? The level of brutality and shit, it baffles the fuck out of me. It really does baffle. So I'm like, better. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, it was an interesting question to think about. Obviously, it's a multi-pronged answer, and that's obviously subjective, right? We've seen wars in our lifetime. So it's like, seems to be the normal part of human existence. People fight wars, but at the same time, it's like when you see what the wars are about, you're like, well, we really need to go to war about this. I don't understand. And then when you see where it stems from, you're like, it's hard to look at when we say society as a whole. I don't know.
Society as a whole, globally or in the United States?
Globally, definitely, I'm not sure. I would probably say maybe not. Just from what I can see and what I know, right? In the United States, I think you'd have to say it's better, even though I'm sure there are people who would not agree with that.
Do you mean racially based or as a whole?
I think as a whole, really, I don't think you'll ever 100% get rid of racism. I mean, again, that's one of the things I just don't understand. I don't understand it, right? I mean, I understand why people feel the way they feel about racism, right? Because again, not to say, let me clarify that. I don't understand why people are racist, but I understand why people feel the way they feel about racism and its negative effects and all that kind of stuff. And the nature of in the history of racism in our country is like we could do fucking 10 hours worth of episodes just on that topic alone, right? But even then, like at its core, I'm like, don't understand. I don't understand it. I'm like, on a day to day, when you see people who put it this way, I think racism is not as overt as it used to be. I think it's way more covert. Even if people try to argue, we'll say the last 8 years, so I think it's still way more covert than it is overt in this country. As somebody who's black, I've experienced it, and it's always kind of like, I don't want to say necessarily like made me angry, but it's always made me kind of like, I've always got like more baffled than anything. Like, that's really what you think? That's what you feel? Like, well, that seems to be more of your problem than a me problem, because I don't get it, right? But we also live in a time where it's like, I don't live in fear of being fucking lynched. I don't live in fear of that on a day to day basis. I personally don't. I don't think I'm sure there's a time in our country's history where that would be an actual fear, because she says it's happened, right? So it's better in the sense of that in particular. You'd have to say yes. I don't think there's people who are living so much in fear of that kind of stuff. But I don't think it'll ever be. I don't know if it'll ever go away. You know what I mean? But then again, it's like Jim Crow is still what, 2 generations, if that. There's people who were born into Jim Crow that are still alive,
Yes.
right? You know what I mean? And so like, or people who were alive back then who now have children. So some of these things perpetuate over time, and it's like when you think about it like that, you're like, damn, that wasn't that long ago. People are like, oh, that was history. But I think when people say history, they're like, for some they think like ancient history. History is also just is yesterday. It's 5 minutes ago. It's still history. You know what I mean? But it's interesting, but at the same time, it's like I'm fortunate enough, and this is where I say better, right? I'm fortunate enough to be in a place where that is not constantly on my mind all the time. That is not always my reality in my day to day life. We live in an area, grew up in an area that's very diverse. So it's like, and that's why I say sometimes it kind of just baffles me. It's because like, oh, that's the shit that you're on. Like, oh, okay, well, all right, well, that seems more like a you problem than a me problem. Like, huh, okay, all right, have a nice day, I guess. Bye. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let me do a couple things.
Yeah.
Homelessness. Let's put aside drug abuse, those who want to be homeless, which
Okay.
people listening might be like, that's not true. Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it's true. It's true.
100% yes, it is. Then number 3, I'm going to give you a specific subsect of people who are homeless that don't want to be homeless, but because of societal pressures are homeless. What was that? You saw the balloons?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what just happened.
Wow.
I don't know what just happened.
Got company here? Let me pause for a second. Pause it.
Go ahead.
Pause?
I'll pause it. Go ahead. So homelessness. So I'm going to give you a very specific subsect.
Yes.
Criminals who have served their time in prison,
Okay.
20, 30 years, that get out. Typically, if you've done that kind of time, you're violent felon, whatever felon, can't get a job. You have restrictions on where you can live. A lot of those guys, men and women, get put in a situation where they have nowhere to live. They don't want to be homeless, but they have no choice. They can't get a job. They can't live anywhere. That specific subsect, I have compassion for, in the sense that they've done their time, but yet society has said, you can't live around me.
Yeah, I feel bad for them.
I have empathy for drug addicts. I do. But it's a choice, bro. I know it's a disease and all this other shit, but I mean...
Yeah, like I said, I wish there was
You put 100 people in a room with a pound of coke, 100 people ain't going to go sniff a line of coke, bro. It's a very small sect that will do that.
But it's not to say it's a rebuttal, right? The question is, do you think that there should be... Is there no room for, I guess, atonement or grace for those people who make mistakes? Yeah.
But a lot of them, and this is me talking with other people on the other podcast, Street Tales, the only way to get away from that is sobriety by, I can't remember what he said, but he was like regional sobriety. Basically, you got to move out of the region you're in to become sober, because you got to get away from the situation you're in to become sober. And let me ask you this, as a taxpayer, do you want to pay for someone to do that? Do you want them to take money out of your paycheck so that they can go live somewhere else and get back on their feet?
How long?
I don't know.
Because and this is what I said, right? So how long do they got? If it said, hey, we're gonna take this subsection, we're charging everybody $1 extra in tax, right? This 10 cents of this dollar is for people to get them on their feet for a year. You got a year.
Oh, buddy. Well, this is what's coming up in the new congressional bill, whatever, saying
that would be more inclined to be like, okay.
What about for you're just going to pay for the rest of the life?
The rest of their life?
Yeah. Bro, come on, bro. How many people have you met in Tampa, Florida, that females that are like, I got to have 4 kids so I can max out my Medicaid, Medicare, and my welfare?
I don't agree with that. And I think
it's monstrous.
I think that's the problem with welfare, is that it's not designed for people to get off.
That's a whole different topic. That's not homelessness, but it's a form of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So homelessness, I think, is a choice. I think there are a lot of options to get out, but you have to want to not be homeless. And I think in America, so this is where I depart from some of the more conservative individuals. America is an experiment. That's why there's 50 states. So 50 states are trying to do 50 different things and figure out what works best for their state, their community, their whatever. Whatever they're doing in California and Seattle and Oregon, not working. Terrible idea. Chicago, not working. It's violent as shit. I love the interview they did with the mayor. I don't think it was an interview. I think the mayor of Baltimore was in front of Congress and like, do you think Baltimore's safe? He's like, absolutely. My family was there. They're like, well, it has, it's like 200% more violent than anywhere else in the U.S. You have a 30% higher chance of walking outside your door and getting shot. It's not safe, bro.
Not safe.
But I will say this, it ties into my next point, racism. Mm-hmm. They always want to make everything racist. And I don't get it. And I think a lot of racism in both sides, people who are like, yes, there's racism everywhere, and people that are like, no, there's not racism. It's ignorance, and there's no fucking shame anymore. I think that's the biggest problem with the United States is people don't have fucking shame. And you see it when you go to Walmart. You see it when you go on a fucking airport and people wearing their goddamn pajamas and their shower caps, titties hanging out, fucking pants are 3 knuckles deep in their private parts, wearing flip-flops, and like, it's like, bro, you're in public. Like, what is going on? Where you have no shame. I'm not saying you got to wear a 3-piece suit, but my God, there's a certain decorum. Like, you're in public with other individuals. There's no shame. People are selfish as fuck. They don't care about your needs as long as their needs are met.
Yeah, I think most people live in a constant state of selfishness.
Oh yeah, but you can be selfish as fuck in your home. Yeah, it's your home. You should be whatever you want to do, bro. I don't care. as long as it's not hurting somebody else. But whatever the fuck you want to do, that's the next one more topic. But yeah, I want to talk about Shannon Sharp. Hopefully, I'm assuming you're versed on that, bro, because it's been everywhere. But hold on, it's just about shame and like selfishness.
Mhm.
But a lot of racism is just they don't want to admit that they have flaws, so they blame the Jews or whatever other race or whatever the fuck it is, right? They want to blame somebody else for their own failures and insecurities. Today, bro, I'm not talking about back in the day when it was like, hey, you can't own land and you can't get a job. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 2025. So we full preamble. All of that happened. It was fucking atrocious. It was devastating. It was awful. We're 2025 now. That shit ain't going on overtly.
I was going to say, what do you think is worse, the overt or the covert?
Covert's way worse.
Because I think that's what makes it more difficult to navigate, and it's like it's like covert racism is like a form of gaslighting, where it's like they might try to make you think you're crazy for bringing it up. No, I think put it this way. I think there are times when you have to take responsibility for your own shit and your own actions, right? And sometimes there's a thing. And sometimes there's risk to the shit, right? And it's like, okay, but like I said before, I'm fortunate enough to live in a time and be in a position where I can get around it. Doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong. Doesn't make it frustrating. 100% makes it frustrating. Makes it wildly frustrating. It's like,
bro, but you and I have talked about this. Because I can't remember how it came up, but it was something like you're a successful black man or something like that.
Yeah.
My point is you're a successful man, full stop. It doesn't matter that you're black.
No.
If you were white, you're still successful. What you have accomplished is impressive at the end. I don't understand this need to add the extra. It's almost like you're successful for a black man. That's outrageous because take your skin color weight. It's still impressive whatever. I'm not trying to hype you up, but it's like, why does it have to be this extra shit? And it's like, well, wait, you and I have been on pretty much the same path. Am I less than because I'm white? Like, why does race have to be such a factor in these conversations? I don't get it.
I don't. And here's what I'll say about this. At the same time, yes, I agree with your viewpoint. I 100% understand why you view it that way. And I view it similarly, in a similar way. It's like, I'm just doing this because I'm doing this. But at the same time, it's like I don't base my success and what I'm doing, if I'm successful or not, off of white standards. And I think, but here's the thing. I think that there are people who base what they're doing and base if they're successful or not based off of what white people think of them or what they're doing. I do not, right? Like you said, I think what I've accomplished is just what I've accomplished, period. Because I personally do not see the world in terms of black or white. That's why I said when I have encountered racism overt or covert, I'm always kind of like, oh,
well, we were both there for the overt, bro. Wow, bro. I was like, what the fuck? I was offended for you, and I was standing right there. I'm like, what the fuck?
Like I said, it was just so like such a shock. I'm like,
yeah,
what the fuck? But I think.
But again, that comes from ignorance and a lack of shame, bro.
I don't have those things, right? So that's why I said I'm in a position. It is a luxury, not just based off of race. It is a luxury in general to know yourself, like I said, to not be focused on the external shit that's happening, to be focused on the internal shit. It's like when you focus on the internal shit, the external shit doesn't really matter. Right?
That's true.
I'm not concerned about that. Whether it's black excellence, white excellence, Asian white excellence, I don't care.
Excellence is excellence, bro. Period.
Yeah. That's to me, like I said, to me. And so I think there are a section of people who, and it's weird to me. I think there are people who think success is white, and I think there are a section of people who think this now. If you're not doing what the majority is doing, because whether they're programmed for it, for whatever reason, aspire to be what people say is successful, but they only see white people doing it. It's like we talked about offline. A couple days ago, we're talking about the what people see, what they show you, like I said,
perceive
the perception, right? So the perception would be that, hey, if you're not like successful, for example, success is joining a country club, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not joining a country club, you're not successful. It's like I said, to me, that's why I say it's propaganda, it's marketing, right? So it's like, oh, you're not successful if you don't drive a BMW. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, but I'm
Yeah.
not. I really don't give a fuck. I don't care about that kind of shit. I was like, I like the things that I like. I'm doing what I like to be doing. I drive a
Yeah.
Cadillac. That's what I like. I'm not driving it so I can fit in somewhere else or to be part of something else. I drive it because that's which is not the same thing. I think that's why and it's to me it's telling how you describe it. It's telling when people put the misnomer on it on the front or the end of it, like, oh, you're so successful for a black person, or you speak so well for blah blah blah. Or I'm like, what?
Bro.
I'm like,
Oh,
what? I'm like,
yeah.
what? I'm
Now,
like,
is that covert or overt, bro? I don't even know.
to me,
That's
I think
pretty,
that's way more ignorant than it is anything.
that's ignorant, bro.
Ignorant about more than anything. But I'm like, it is. To me, like I said, to me, when I hear those things, it says more about the person than it says about me. And I'm like, it's like oh, okay, I see what's happening here. I see where we're at.
Yeah, because you already diminished the
Yeah,
achievement
like,
by putting that on there.
exactly. So I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to be involved in that. You know what? I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like so now I kind of like, okay, now I know where you're at in the fucking puzzle in the space of whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because I think we talked about this a few days ago. Maybe it ties in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but not every success story has to be a rags from riches, a rag to riches. I'm saying,
yeah,
because I think people get this chip on their shoulder if they come from means,
yeah,
whatever that means.
yeah,
I mean, you grew up in the hood. I grew up in the trailer park. We're trying to make something of ourselves. I would say neither one of us are what quote unquote wealthy, but I can tell you right now, growing up in the trailer park, running around, swimming in drainage ditches and shit, I wouldn't see myself accomplishing what I've accomplished. But I think there's like this chip where people who have come from wealth or means or whatever, they're like, yeah, but I worked hard. It's like, listen, success is success. There's plenty of stories out there of kids who come from millionaires, billionaires, whatever, wasted all the wealth, blown it,
mhm,
fucked up their lives, overdosed. I mean, there's just because you have money doesn't mean that you are instilled with drive and willpower and the, well, mental fortitude to be able to achieve success. Even people who are handed companies. To me, honestly, I remember that. I remember thinking about that. We had that one deputy whose dad was a sheriff, and he
mhm,
didn't want to be a sheriff in his dad's agency because he didn't want to be seen as somebody who was like, "Oh, it's just given to me." I was like, "You're still a cop, bro." Like, I don't understand. I've never had it, so I don't understand it. But you could still fuck it up, and if
oh yeah,
anything, there's more pressure because
yeah,
now, what are you going to do with it? And
mhm,
there's more stories of people dropping the ball and failing than there are
yeah,
taking it and running with it.
yeah. I think
Generational wealth is a very difficult thing to achieve.
it's a different kind of pressure too.
A
Like you said,
100%.
I think
And
it
I think
is.
it honestly, I think it's harder to come from wealth and lose it all because you don't know you're in uncharted territory than someone who came from nothing, made it, and lost it. You're like, I'm back where I started.
Yeah, when you come from the bottom, you already put it this way. I heard this shit the other day. I thought it was fucking brilliant. So I said, rock bottom. People hitting rock bottom sometime may be the first time you ever stood on solid ground.
Ooh, I like it.
I was like, okay, I got it, right? So I was like, so some people who don't start out with it, right? Not like you just say all the time, like, hey man, they're gonna demote you, send you back to district on midnight. So I was like, well, you can't send me back to a place that is the what you. I came from a place where you deemed to be the place that they send people when you hate them. So I was like,
That's where I came from, baby.
it's like you came from the bottom. You can't send me back to a place that's worse than the place I came from. I was already there. I know what it's like. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
I know. So when people, it's like I know what it's like to not live to live without the fucking safety net. I know what it's like. I know what it is. And like you said, for some people who it's not. It's a different thing when you're to live in fear of losing it while you're having it is a different. I mean, I can't obviously I can't speak to that, but I think it from what I can conceptualize in my head is it's probably got to be a different kind of fear because it's like not only am I one losing it, I'm also embarrassing my family, and now I'm responsible for getting back everything that I got. So like I said, for us, it's like, hey, I'm successful. I've got all these things and achievement. This is success. But it's like, would it be put this way? Would it be seen as would our feats now be greater if we started here, fell, and then got back, versus starting from down here and just getting?
I don't know, bro. That's the
It?
point. I don't know. Because the thing is, there's no guarantee that if you start here, you're going to go here. You see what I'm saying? It's still up to you.
You start where you start.
I think it started off with somebody was making or brought up again when Trump was like, I started off with a small loan of $1 million from my father. Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
If I gave you $1 million right now,
What to do with it?
could you turn it into $1 billion?
Could you grow
4
it?
billion, 2 billion, 100 billion?
I don't know. I would like
I don't know.
to better myself and say yes, because I'm confident. But that's a different kind of.
You got to take that million. What if you lose it?
Now,
There ain't no more millions to come.
that's what I was saying. But now, if you lose it, are you responsible for getting it back, or do you just is it just a here's a leg up? It's not the same thing.
I think this, bro. Now you're making me scratch my brain for. There's a biblical story about the landowner that gave, I can't remember, 3 of his. I don't know if they were slaves or not, but he gave, I think it was 3 of them money because he was going away, traveling, and one of them buried it, one of them gambled it and lost it, and one of them doubled it. And the one that doubled it, he gave his land to. And I'm way off, bro. You're scratching my brain, but I remember this. I remember this from Bible school, bro. But it's like, what would you do with it? Would you just bury it? Would you lose it? Or would you do something with it? Again, I don't know. Hold on, bro. We're gonna end on this story because I know you got things going on. Hold on. Let's see the normal story. Oh, hired workers. The parable of the laborers in the vineyard. Matthew 20:1-16. Yes. All right. They call them land workers, so I don't know. I don't know what that means, bro. Whatever he's trying to say, bro. All right, but anyway, yeah, Matthew 20:1-16. Boom. I remember some of it, but there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different kind of pressure, man. I don't know. But it's still pressure either way. Or maybe you can afford, maybe you can afford fucking groceries, but it's still pressure.
Bro, my son right now is living on tuna and rice. And I'm like, boy, I'll send you money. He's like, no, because he's trying to get fit and all this other shit. And he's like, no, I'm good. All but right. I'm going to remember, I'm trying to write down things that him and I talk about. I guess that's another endeavor. Because in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I'm like, you remember when we were living off tuna and rice? Life is a little bit better now. And he's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I should. Trust me, I can.
Now, one thing I will say is I think everybody should live through some form of hardship or do something that is hard.
Interesting.
Now, I don't say it again.
Interesting that you say that, because
I'm not saying you got to be poor, but you need to do something that is hard.
That's something that's difficult, right?
Yes.
It goes along the lines I was talking about earlier with the like some of these old cliche things where like no pain, no gain, right? And I'm like, that sounds stupid when you think about when you're young. I was like, no. I was like, that's how you grow, is through difficulties and through hardship, right? It doesn't have to mean, like you say, you fucking, eat beanies and weenies every night. That's not what we're talking about. It's like, but you usually don't grow unless you challenge yourself somewhat and do difficult things. Not to say that everything has to be, physical or whatever, but you do need to go through challenging things in order to have a better understanding of. I think you're not going to know yourself and know what you're capable of if you don't go through anything difficult. It's like you don't appreciate the good shit until you go through some negative shit.
Yeah.
It seems very cliche. It seems cliche as fuck.
Perspective, bro. Perspective. Like what I'm doing now when I'm bored as shit or whatever I'm doing, I'm like, am I responding to a crash from a teenage kid that hit a tree at 1 a.m. when it's negative 15 degrees in Maine? No. Guess what? I'm okay.
I'm good.
I'm okay.
I'm all right. I'm good.
Yeah. I'm all right, bro. That's a good one, bro. Let's end on that. We'll save the last topic or two for the next one.
Yeah, we'll definitely. We got some other stuff to chit chat about, of course.
Yeah, bro. Tell Blueberry Bear I said what's up.
Yeah, let him know.
All right, brother. It was a good one though.